We were not supposed to be here. We forced our way into existence. Divided two mighty continents. Rising from the depths of two vast oceans. Now we dance in a pool without walls. Now we swim with the masters of the ocean. Now we are the defenders of man's first rainforest. And we're not even supposed to be here. We were the outcasts, We were the humbled slaves, the unauthorized pirates. But his story is not we story. We penetrated the great Atlantic in pursuit of a new beginning. We are 2,000 West African ships on the coast of the mighty Amazon. We are the ambitious pirates redesigning your atlas. We are the sum total of all things West Indian. And this is we's story, not his story. Hi, I'm Leroy George, Managing Director of Green Tobago Tours, and we're going to talk about the history of Tobago today, starting from 150 million years ago, when South America, North America, and Africa formed one big large landmass. This big large landmass started drifting into the three tectonic plates or continental plates into the positions where we know them to be today. If you look at this reenactment, you'd notice that Trinidad was always a part of South America, making Tobago the first of the Caribbean islands from the south side to rise above the sea level. Because there were Native Americans living in South America, only 7 miles off the coast of Trinidad, we had a situation whereby the Taino Indians would have left Venezuela, and landed in Trinidad, only 7 miles away, 2,000 years ago. It wasn't a very difficult journey until the Taino Indians decided to go a little bit further up north to Tobago, and this would have been much more strenuous because instead of 7 miles, you're now looking at 20 or more miles. And you're going into the Atlantic Ocean, which tends to be very difficult in contrast to traveling on the Caribbean seaside of the island. Also, because Tobago was not a part of the South American area and had risen up from below the water, there wasn't a lot in terms of plants and animals. To this very day, people who want to travel between Trinidad and Tobago sometimes would call Green Tobago tours, and we would make exactly the same journey that the Taino Indians made from Toco to Tobago, landing on exactly the same beaches around Sandy Bay, Store Bay area. We do it with a very powerful 33-foot boat with two 200 engines, sometimes 150 engines. But when you consider the fact that these Tainos would have had to do this without engine boats, without even sails even, just rowing, you really got to respect them for that. Now when they reach in Tobago, they would stay in areas just around the Buku Reef area, and that's because the reef is the area which part they would get the most amount of subsistence in terms of fishes, etc. The reefs are created as a result of the tectonic plates moving, and as such the reefs are very shallow enough for some small animals to survive there. These animals are called polyps. Polyps are vaguely related to jellyfish, and a colony of polyps is referred to as corals. When you have a whole heap of corals in one area, you call that a coral garden or a reef. Wherever you have a reef, not too far away, you're going to run into lagoons. Now, a lagoon tends to be an area where salt water and fresh water mixes, and most, about a quarter of the fishes out there, they have their young in the lagoon area because it's calmer there. And they would spend the first year of their life there in the lagoon and then move over to the coral reef area to spend the next 3 years of their life before moving into open waters after the first 4 years of their life. In this case of the Buku Reef, that would be the Caribbean Sea, right? Right between the lagoon and the Buku Reef, we have no man's land. No man's land is a peninsula, and it's covered mainly with mangrove trees. Mangrove trees have the ability to basically filter minerals that could move from the brackish water in the lagoon to the reef, or from the reef to the lagoon. And so they're very, very important, and it's for this reason that No Man's Land, Buku Reef, and the Bonaccord Lagoon are all protected according to the Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago. I would have mentioned earlier on that the Tainos stayed almost exclusively in this area, and when they stayed there, they'd wait until the tide was low and come out to do some spear fishing. This is as a result of large fishes being trapped in the reef area that would have come from the Caribbean Sea to feed on the small fishes in the coral gardens while the tide was high, only to discover that they would be trapped between the corals when the tide became low. Another way that the Tainos would do their fishing would be via bioluminescence. Bioluminescence is the effect of algae in the water that causes everything that moves in the water, be it the oars of a rowboat or fishes, etc., to light up, making the fishes much more visible. Right now, in No Man's Land, plans are presently being made to cut down a large amount of the mangrove trees, and the reason for that being they want to build a hotel that will boast 700 toilets as well as a golf course also. I think it'll be very interesting to see what happens with all that human waste when this takes place, if it takes place. And so this concludes our first part of Tobago history. Our next part is going to start very soon, and we're going to be talking about the next wave of people to come after the American Indians, or the Amerindians, And if you guess Christopher Columbus, you are absolutely wrong. We're actually going to be talking about Abu Bakr Musa and the Mali Kingdom, which would have settled in South America in the 1300s, about almost 200 years before Christopher Columbus. And we're going to be talking about the difficulties that would have posed for Spain and Portugal roughly 200 years afterwards. So tune in for part 2. This is the conclusion of part 1.